The government of Guam Retirement Fund submitted 3 alternatives to the governor's spending cuts proposals, estimated to save about $43 million, Board Treasurer Gerard Cruz.
The proposals that we're putting forward were brought forth after the negotiation between us and the administration. It is cost neutral to the fund, so it's something that the fund can live with.
The discussion between both parties came about after the retirement fund testified in opposition to the governor's proposals, which aim for an early retirement program and an extension of the amortization period to pay down the unfunded liability by a decade. The retirement fund's proposals implements both a voluntary separation incentive program and a hybrid retirement plan proposed under Bill 453, furloughing one Friday every pay period for government employees, and lastly, implementing a pension bond which would immediately infuse a cash sum into the retirement fund, allowing the government to reduce its contribution rate. It's a result of work between its actuary staff and consultants.
So we were able to see through analysis, through running the different scenarios, that the proposals, any one of these 3 proposals, and hopefully all of them in its totality, will be able to reap the benefits, will reap the savings that the governor was looking for.
Governor Eddie Calvo, meanwhile, thanks the retirement fund for their advice, but says their idea of Furlough Fridays isn't under their purview, but his.
So one of the major issues for me on a furlough, that's akin to a 32-hour work week. That's all it is. And I've always been against this cookie-cutter approach, slicing hours, particular that I have general purview over a police department, fire department, and nurses at public health. And I do believe that would be detrimental to critical services being provided to our people.
BBMR Director John Rios was in close communication with the retirement fund and says some of the alternatives look like they could work, but still has some issues he wants to look into further.
Some of them will work, a combination will work. Instead of doing a 5-year extension that they're proposing, I still think we can do the 10-year temporary. It will do the same thing, it just provides the general fund relief for the first 5 years.
Cruz, meanwhile, says based on pure calculations, the administration's proposal of extending the amortization period would have a substantial impact to the fund, resulting in over $1 billion in costs. He does, however, understand the state of GovGuam's finances.
So we need to weigh our fiduciary duties with our willingness and our ability to contribute, and that's what these proposals were about. We're just trying to find a neutral ground where we weren't putting one fund, and that is the retirement fund, in jeopardy in order to save the general fund.
Calvo says his fiscal policy team is reviewing the other alternatives, but ultimately wants the Guam legislature to decide on the bill and make the necessary amendments. Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz, meanwhile, will be holding a public hearing on the alternative proposals, which he hopes to announce by the end of the week. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Ken Quintanilla.